Hey everybody, what's up and welcome to another episode of Design Blind Date. On today's episode, I'm chatting with Charli Prangley, who you probably know from her big YouTube channel or her podcast. Anyway, she's a designer at ConvertKit, a remote company, and she's also doing a lot of side projects, YouTube, podcasts, other projects. And on this conversation, we chat about a lot of these things, how she plans her project, how, compensation works at her company, how she gets design community, how she makes friends in the design world, a lot of things. So this is a really great, friendly conversation because we haven't spoke in a while. So enjoy it. Hi Charli, what's up? Welcome to the show.
Hi Ran.
We didn't do a video together for a while. For a lot of
Yeah,
time.
we meant to record one when we were at Epicurrents together, but
right.
we were
So
just
maybe
having
the
too much
last
fun
one was
hanging out
like
by the campfire.
Epicurrents a year ago.
Yep.
So that's been a while. Since then, I don't have a work hard and be nice to people in the background, but you do. So we kind of switched, metaphorically switched offices.
Yep. Stole your idea,
Nah, it's just, what's up? How have you been?
I've been good. Yeah, busy, lots of travel, but
I know, I'm
trying
so
to get
jealous.
projects
I
done at
just
the same
watched your
time.
vlog from the California trip.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that was fun. We drove down the coast, well, as much of the coast as we could, from San Francisco to San Diego. Super fun.
It looks like all you do in ConvertKit is just do company retreats, go to awesome conferences, and have a good time.
I feel like that's maybe 3 weeks out of the year. But, those 3 weeks provide a lot of great content for sharing later on.
It's true. Oh, but 3 weeks out of a year, it's almost a month. It's nice. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Nice. So that was a good trip?
Yeah, that was a great trip. I always look forward to our team retreats because I think, so we have them every 6 months, which I think is the perfect amount of time in between, because by the end of 6 months, you're really missing everyone and you're really looking forward to seeing each other again. I think if it was any more regular, then it wouldn't be as special or exciting to see everyone.
Are there a bunch of new people that you haven't met yet?
Yeah,
is
there
the
are
company
this time.
growing crazily? Or?
Yeah. So the goal of ConvertKit, one of Nathan's goals that he has, our CEO and running it, is to see if we can get to, I think it's 100 million in ARR with 50 people or less. So
that's ambitious.
That's a pretty big goal.
Yeah.
And so when we grow, we're very purposeful about who we hire and what roles we open up. So we definitely don't hire like crazy like a lot of other tech companies do. But recently I feel like there's about 5 new people, maybe 4 since the last retreat, which is a lot for us.
Yeah. Are you still the only marketing designer? So there's you as a marketing designer and there's a product designer as well? Or?
Yep, there's Dylan as a product designer. And recently we just hired on a front-end developer to work with me on the marketing team and also a front-end developer for the product team. But before that, me and Dylan were both also coding out our own designs. Yeah.
Oh my God. So you were doing, what is that, like WordPress?
Yep. Lots of WordPress, lots of PHP.
Oh man.
Yeah,
so now you can
I
focus
did that for about
more
2 years.
Design.
Yeah. Really excited to be able to focus more on design. I just think we're going to be able to work a lot faster on projects too, because I'm not the best at coding. I learned on the job and, I enjoyed it, did it for a few years, but
wait, you got the
definitely
job,
prefer design.
which was basically part front-end development without knowing how to code?
I sure did. Yep, I'm just very lucky that Nathan liked me.
Nice, but you learned quickly, obviously.
Yeah, I think I learn best when I'm working on real projects, like doing tutorials and things, that's great, but I learn most when I've got a real problem to solve and I'm kind of forced to figure out how to solve it, So I think that's what helped me figure it all out.
Was that like kind of like fake it till you make it type of thing? Like, yeah, I can do WordPress development and then figure it out.
No.
I'll figure it out. Or were you open about, well, I'll learn.
I was definitely open about it. I think it would have been incredibly obvious if I hadn't been.
By the way,
I
got my first job. So, sorry, I'm interrupting you. That's the main comment on my podcast, interrupting people.
Tell me about your first job.
On my first job, it was funny because it was a huge advertising company and they were just doing the transition from moving from freehand into Illustrator and InDesign. So they had a huge problem because most of the designers that worked there did not know how to use InDesign and those type of software. And I had no clue in neither, like freehand or InDesign. So I just told them, I can handle InDesign for sure, no problems. And they were like, really? Because we have to have designers that know that. Okay, you're hired. And I was like, okay, let me Google how to do that.
I do feel like learning InDesign is a lot easier than learning how to code. Well,
Yeah,
maybe.
It's true. But it has to be said that for development, I think there's huge resources out there in terms of like Stack Overflow, or I don't know what you use for PHP. Like you can Google stuff and then just like literally copy paste solutions, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I use Treehouse to learn like the GitHub and using a Git workflow and that sort of thing as well. Learning how to use the terminal, that was really helpful for
That's
me.
cool.
Yeah.
So I saw that you just developed like a design system for your marketing website.
Yeah.
Did you actually start using
Getting into using Figma?
Yeah.
What
I
was
saw that video. Did you start using that already?
Yeah. I've been using it for a while now. I only just got around to making the video going through it. But it's been so helpful because lots of little things are easily accessible in making mockups, and I don't have to go open up an old file to copy and paste the thing in. Because the site I'm designing for, I'm the marketing designer at a tech company, so it's always the same website that I'm working within. I'm just making new landing pages for it or making updates to old ones, So icons, fonts, colors, they're all reused across the whole thing. So a design system definitely comes in handy. Makes it a lot faster to, just be bringing designs to life, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing that myself. Actually for my Webflow course, because I have the landing page and I'm starting to do variations of it, and it's just like no consistency whatsoever. And so I saw that video and I was like, hey, maybe I should do that for myself. Yeah,
for sure. What are you designing before you build out in Webflow?
What software do I use?
Yeah.
So basically, this is another problem of the mess. So usually I was used to design in Sketch, which was the original design that I did. Now I'm kind of migrating into Figma, usually basically for client collaboration. But this specific project, somebody that just a fan, like from YouTube or I don't know, just sent me a redesign that he did in XD, which looked wonderful. And so I started reusing that, which is in XD, so now it's all over the place. But I want to do a complete redesign. And so I'm actually not sure what to do with because that's a project that I'm working on alone at the moment. So I'm not sure if I'll use Figma or Sketch again. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're starting a game from scratch, then you could at least have everything in one place, right?
Yeah. But I do think, I'm in the process right now where I'm thinking about how to grow and maybe grow a team and maybe hire a designer to work with me. And so maybe, Figma would be the right solution, just because I'll future-proof collaboration, that type of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's super easy to make a design system in it.
Yeah.
I have a video all about it if you want to watch it.
I think I'm going to try that for myself as well.
Cool. Yeah.
So what's up besides that? Like last time we met, which was a while ago, I think you mentioned you want to write a book. Is that still going on?
Yeah, that's still going on. Last time we met up was the very first time I even started thinking about this.
Yeah.
Right? That Epicurrence was super inspiring for me for that. And since then I've been working on it in a way, but mostly just when a thought comes to me, writing it down. It hasn't been an active thing that I'm okay, sit down, it's writing time. It's been more about collecting ideas and just thinking about it.
Is it really a priority because I remember last time we met, you were I want to do this in 2019, or am I wrong?
No, you are not wrong. It is a priority, but so I got really nerdy at the start of this year, and I know you'll appreciate this because I see lots of time management, project management stuff from you too. I decided that I'd seen how valuable it was at work to break projects up into quarters, break up the year, figure out what you're going to work on when. And so I did that for myself, for my own projects that I want to do this year. Took the year, broke it into quarters. And so book focus time doesn't start for me until Q3. There's a few other things that I want to get out of the way first.
Amazing.
So that's why up until now it's just been...
So it's on schedule.
Thoughts whenever
it's on schedule.
It's on schedule, yes.
Nice.
I would love to end the year with a proposal written, but I don't know how realistic that is because I've never written a book before. So I don't know quite how much work is going to be involved in writing that proposal. But I guess that's the stretch goal.
What do you mean a proposal?
So, with this book, I want to get it published traditionally. I know that I could write an ebook, publish it myself, or even figure out how to, get a printed book done and sold myself through Amazon or whatever. But I just have this dream of walking into a bookstore and, in the art and design section, there's my name on the cover, And I think it would help me reach more people who are the right audience for this book as well, if it was in bookstores. So that's the goal. And that's why I guess I'm not trying to rush it. Because I know it's going to be a long process of learning. How do you get a publisher? How do you get a book agent? I don't know. This is a completely new world for me. So yeah, that's why I've got to write a proposal, because a proposal is how you get the publishing deal and all that.
Okay, got it. Do you know Paul Jarvis? You must know Paul Jarvis, right? Do you know him in person?
I don't. Never met him in person. Okay. Would love to.
Yeah, because I think his latest book was kind of traditionally published as well.
Yeah,
I think it's similar.
Yeah.
So I would I don't know if reach out, but I think there's probably, I don't know if he documented this on a blog or something. I'm sure there's a lot you can learn from him in that aspect.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And Nathan, our CEO, is publishing, he's currently writing a book that's going to be traditionally published, and he's got the agent sorted, working on the proposal at the moment, so that's really helpful as well for me to learn from how he's going with that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wait, so what's your book is going to be about?
It's going to be a guide to life as a designer. So I feel like there's a lot of books that are about design theory and learning how to actually design, but I think there's a real lack of resources out there for just what life is like as a designer and all the things we deal with, like creative block, like imposter syndrome, like burnout, and all these things that you might face in your career as a designer. So that's what I want the book to be about, is to cover those topics and sort of be maybe it's a book you get at the start of your design career, or maybe it's a book that you read when you're already in your design career and you just feel like you need to know that you're going to get through this and that other people have these problems too, that's what I'm thinking at the moment.
That's great. That's totally something that's, I feel needed at the beginning of a journey like that.
Yeah, I just imagine it being, when someone graduates design school or something, or you start telling your family that you want to be a designer, this is the book you get for Christmas or for your graduation present. Yeah, exactly.
It's the Don't Panic book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy type of thing.
But for design, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Don't panic, designer. It's going to be okay.
There we go. There's my title. Sorted. Thanks, Ryan.
For sure. No royalties needed. It's.
Oh, thanks. So generous.
That's cool. And what Nathan's book's going to be about?
Nathan's book is, I think the title is going to be Create Every Day, and it's going to be about being a creator and the importance of that, and about building a habit of creating. It's going to be a good one. He has a lot to share on that, and that motto is kind of what our company has been built on. So I'm excited for it.
Cool. Why is it that you think, why do you think you have that dream, of going into that bookstore? That's really interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. See, this book thing is kind of new for me. Like I said, at Epicurrents was really when I feel like I formulated this idea. So it's not something that you're carrying around for years. No, that's the completely opposite, in fact. A couple of years ago, I remember reading blog posts and things where it's everyone wants to write a book. And I'm I don't want to write a book. What are you talking about? Not everyone wants to write a book. That's a ridiculous thing to assume. But I don't know. I think maybe I've been reading a lot more nonfiction over the past few years and seeing the value in it and just feeling I don't know, maybe there's something that I want to share as well. And a lot of the content I create online, like YouTube videos, podcasts, blog posts, even though they exist and they're evergreen, they're always there, they feel temporary for some reason. Maybe it's the amount of work that goes into them. I work on a video for a week and then it's live, it's like a short-term project. So I think that I just like the idea of having something that I really work on for a long time, and it's like a cornerstone piece of my life that I'm really proud of, I suppose. Like my legacy, like leaving a little bit of a legacy behind.
That's interesting. So you think...
Have you ever wondered about writing a book?
I don't know. It's kind of like I had that type of like ebook experience, as you've mentioned, when I was doing the new school. And that was basically not even, I was writing a blog. Were you, by the way, writing a blog at any specific time? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I've sort of dabbled in blogging over the years. I'm trying to build up more of a habit now, just to practice.
So I was writing for a period. Basically, I stopped writing when I started YouTubing because I discovered, I enjoy doing that more. But before that, I was writing for a few years in Hebrew, and then when the new school started, I kind of moved into English. And basically just translated a bunch of my posts, but also wrote new posts in English. And then we had kind of a book which was mainly, I would say, either a translation of our course or just a collection of blog posts that's edited in kind of a book format. So honestly, I didn't feel like I wrote that book. It was kind of like edited. I mainly edited it. And so I don't see it as kind of like a creation type of thing.
Right, that makes sense. It was more like a compilation.
Yeah. But I feel like writing is very painful for me in a sense of that it's very hard, I think. And I feel much more, I think, easier. For me, it's easier to talk either to the camera or just like with you right now. So I feel like if I would write a book, it would be kind of like, do you know Gary Vaynerchuk? Yeah, so the way he writes book is basically he talks it to the person who writes it down. Then I feel like either because I'm lazy or I don't think that I would get the energy now to sit down and write it. Maybe it's just laziness. I do think that writing as a designer, it's such an important skill because it really helps you to refine your thinking. So I do a lot of writing in terms of, I do journaling, kind of write at the end of every day, and I have a notebook that I write in. But I feel like the undertaking of writing a book, I don't know, for me,
I agree. It's super daunting. I have this, so let's go back to my high school days, high school English classes. I spent maybe a good 8 years thinking that I couldn't write and that I was terrible at writing because of high school English classes. Like, my teacher was just super not encouraging. I got bad grades and I was like a really good student and everything else. So getting bad grades in English, like, really stuck with me, and I had this like chip on my shoulder for a long time, And it was really only until, like, I would try writing and I would write blog posts and things like that. But I feel like when I was writing them, I was kind of copying the voice that I'd read in other bloggers, right? Like I thought, this is how a blog post should be written, so this is how I'm going to write it.
Yeah.
And it was really only when I started working at ConvertKit and would write posts for our company blog. We have a blog that helps like people with creating content online. So I would write the design posts for that, basically, when there was one. And the copywriter that I work with was just so wonderful and encouraging in the way that she would give me edits and like just give me good feedback on what I was writing. And it made me feel like, oh, maybe I actually could do this. And I guess slowly since then, I've been trying to find my own voice in writing and figuring out what that might be. But it's awesome.
It sounds like you got a little bit of kind of like coaching with your writing because you got feedback. Yeah, I never had that. And I think that's probably super important.
Yeah.
What do you,
I mean, writing is hard and it's still hard for me. But I feel like I'm just trying to practice, basically. That's what I'm seeing every blog post I write as now is like practice for the book eventually.
Do you think, because you said when you said I'll have a book and in the store, it will help me reach kind of new audiences.
Yeah.
Do you see that as kind of like, I don't know if to say marketing effort, but kind of like platform to increase your reach or message or really getting to new people? Do you see that in that sense? Kind of like, is that part of the reason, do you think?
I don't think so. It's more about, I think it's bigger than just my YouTube audience, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want people, well, it'd be very nice and kind if people who watch my YouTube videos buy my book because they've seen my videos and they trust me and my advice, that sort of thing. But I just think it'd be super cool for the book to be bigger than me and bigger than the YouTube channel. And so that someone might buy it who has never heard of me and maybe unless they read the author bio doesn't even know I have a YouTube channel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it just becomes like a thing on its own that's useful by itself because of the information in it and not because of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. So you say it's like the ideas in that book matter more than,
Yes.
me, the author, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Because I don't know if I feel cynicism or just like I feel like maybe in the world around me, like not everybody's writing a book, more everybody's doing online courses, but it's like a lot of people use books as kind of like marketing. Somebody told me the phrase like, what was it? It was something like book is a business card or something like that. That it's kind of very helpful to say, oh, I have a book, like whatever.
Right.
It gives me authority or something like that. How do you feel
I
about that?
can see that because I think that another
I
benefit
think
of me
even
having...
Nathan said that at some point. No, I think because I
Yeah,
read
probably.
his book Authority,
He's a
which
book
was
all about
basically
writing books.
yeah, which was basically that.
Yeah. I think that it'll help me. One of my other things I like to do is speak at conferences. And I think it'll help me command more speaking opportunities or more like paying speaking opportunities.
Oh, that's
if I can be
interesting.
like, hey, I'm a published author, So it'll help in that way, I think. But I don't know. I think that maybe I'm not thinking in that same way. Like I want the book to be a special thing on its own. I feel like if I was thinking about it the other way and not saying that any book that was written for marketing is bad because of it or anything, but I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be better quality if I'm doing it for the sake of doing it itself and not because I want to quickly get something out there to start building my audience or, those other reasons.
Yeah, totally.
Just a little bit of shade throwing there. Didn't mean to, but...
What?
Just threw a little bit of shade.
Got it. Cool. So do you have like a publisher that that you want to reach out to? Do you have kind of like a...
Nope.
No.
No idea whatsoever.
It's like, I'll deal with that in Q3.
Yeah, pretty much.
Don't want to think about it.
I don't know. This is all so new to me, honestly, that I just don't know what's right and what's wrong and what you're even supposed to do. But
So what were their priorities for Q1 and 2?
The priorities for Q1 was a series I did with Webflow about building an e-commerce store.
Yeah.
So that was super fun. It was kind of like, it wasn't really a course. It was more of like a follow along with me sort of thing. But yeah, it was a series of 6 videos that I then put into like an email sequence with a sign up page and that sort of thing.
That you sent to your audience?
Yep. Sent to my audience or like anyone else who's going to sign up for it. Yeah.
Cool. How do you feel about that? How did that turn out? I mean, I saw the website. Looks really great.
Than's.
Do you actually?
I'm really happy with how this.
Like, do you sell prints from the website?
Yeah. Well, I've only sold one so far. I've honestly not had much luck at all with physical products.
Do you have to actually package it and send it yourself physically?
Yep. Sure
okay,
do.
so you're
I've
lucky.
got all the packaging.
You're lucky. You only had to do it once. Like,
Yep.
imagine you had to do it like 536 times now.
It's so fun fact about that. When I started a Patreon a couple of years ago, and one of the bonuses that I gave to people who signed up in the first 24 hours was one of my prints. Is this white print that's got like this antlers on it. It's a screen print that I've made. Way more people signed up for in the first 24 hours than I expected. I think it was about 150 people. So I ended up having to print, because I do all my screen prints myself, print 150 antler prints.
I can
Had them all laid out like on the floor drying in my flat. And yeah, it
Physical
was a lot
products
of work.
is hard.
Yep, very hard. Would definitely recommend getting like a...
By the way, I have
fulfillment
a friend who published a book, and he's selling the books. So half the house looks like a warehouse of a physical book, right? It's not an ebook.
Yep.
And he has to, like, now he hired a person to actually ship it for them, but he was like running to the mailbox like 3 times a day. So
That's another reason why I want to get mine traditionally published.
Yeah.
But it just sounds exhausting.
yeah. So was that a success on your end in terms of like the project, what you were hoping to do with it?
Yeah, I think it was definitely kind of a success. Webflow were happy and they were sponsoring the series. So that's like what matters at the end of the day was the client happy? Because this is another client project, I suppose. And people, it's still getting comments and people are still finding it useful. I made a copy of my site with a store. What is it, like a read-only link, whatever it's called in Webflow? So that people
like
can actually open it. And, clonable.
Yeah, cool.
So that people can see how I did it and all the functions, that sort of thing. So I feel like it's a useful piece of content that'll just live out there as evergreen.
I'm actually going to start building my first e-commerce website with Webflow, I think this week or next week. What's the one tip I need to know about?
I feel like you don't need any tips. I feel like you understand how Webflow CMS works, and that's just how the e-commerce works.
Yeah.
Like that, when I first tried it out, that's what was amazing, because I've built like stores before on other platforms, and it was kind of like you got to learn a whole new system. But if you know how Webflow CMS works, you know how e-commerce works.
Yeah,
super
amazing.
easy.
That's what I thought, but I was like, maybe I'm missing something.
Nope, you're right. There's just like extra settings to work through for shipping and all that sort of thing. But yeah, you'll be fine. What are you is it gonna be a real e-commerce store, or will it be just an example?
It's actually no, it's not an example. It's actually for some cosmetics company in Berlin that has some cool eco Indian type of thing. Kind of like boutique shop. And they actually designed it. I'm only going to build it in Webflow for them because I didn't have a chance to do an e-commerce, and I want to add that to the course. And so I'm actually doing
that'd
this.
Be great.
Yeah, it's actually not it's like not real client work, because otherwise, like, I wouldn't take it. Like, even e-commerce is not even my my niche. Like, I wouldn't take an e-commerce.
Still, that's handy.
Yeah, it's cool. I feel like I have to do it for the class, but it's cool, and I like to experiment with the new features and stuff.
It's been super exciting seeing how well your class has done.
Yeah, I'm still blown away from it. You know, just because my nature is to get bored fast with things. I want to rush into the next thing. But this is just like, there's so much demand for this, and I feel like I have to, or more accurately, my business coach slaps me in the face and like, shut up, do the work. Do not move into the next thing. Do the work. And so I'm doing the work. I'm trying to get it to as many people as possible. Somebody just commented on a post like, I've seen your ad like 100 times, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if to be happy or sad about this, but it's just what it is.
Did you buy the course yet?
I did not comment that yet, but I was like, yeah, so get the course.
Take the hit, man.
The problem is with the people who bought the course and still getting the ads. This is where it's getting. They were like, "Hey, dude, you're wasting money on us." I'm like, I don't know how to make this stop.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, so what's in plan for this quarter?
This quarter, I'm working on a client project that I have taken on.
Like a freelance?
I don't know if I should have, to be honest, because I don't really do client work that often, but it was a friend who wanted a website they do a readathon. So it's like 1 week where she does BookTube. Have you heard of that? Where it's like YouTube videos about books.
YouTube reviews about books?
Yep, YouTube videos about books.
Amazing.
It's a whole sector of YouTube.
Amazing.
Is this BookTube.
Anyway, I saw those people who try to sum up books, or I've seen these kind of like reviews of books, or like, here's illustrations explaining the concepts in the book in 3 minutes.
Yeah, all of the above, or just like, oh, here's what I really liked about this book, or, 10 books to read on your holiday, that sort of thing. It's just videos about books. Yeah.
Great.
But they do this thing, it's a readathon, so people join in and are like just reading as much as they can for a week, basically, and they give away prizes and they have sponsors and things like that.
That would be my ideal vacation.
What was that, sorry?
That would be my ideal vacation. By the way,
books?
Yeah, just reading books. Like, this week, I'm taking a day off to read books just because I didn't get time to read.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like a dream.
Again, my business coach slapped me in the face. Take a day off. You deserve a day off. I'm like, no, there's too much work to be done. You deserve a day off. That's why I pay him. So, it's worth the money. I need somebody to slap me in the face.
Anyway, this website.
Yeah.
I took it on because I knew that we were hiring a front-end developer at work and I would be doing less coding, but I wanted to make sure I didn't like lose those skills, you know? I wanted to be able to keep it up. I think I've bitten off more than I can chew with this though, to be honest.
Why? Are you not doing it with Webflow?
No.
Why?
Because there's a bunch of custom functionality using databases and things like that, and there's like forums and people need to be user accounts. As far as I know, Webflow can't do that.
Well, I'm not going to pitch it right now. there's a new thing for user management, that type of thing. But I didn't actually try it yet. But it's on my list. Yeah.
Well, also I have a problem in that because they are just like two booktubers running this thing, they don't want to spend a lot of money for the hosting of a website. And so, Webflow is kind of way out of their price range, unfortunately.
All right.
But yeah, so it's been challenging so far to work on coding this thing. I'm trying to get some consulting help from some much smarter WordPress developers than me to get it sorted. But that's the focus for this quarter, is to deliver that site well. They need it by the end of June.
The design is already done, and now you're handling the development? Oh, no.
Design is not done. I only really started working on it in March, I would say, because I was traveling up until then. So yeah, right now I'm making sure I can do all the functionality before I worry about the design. It's just so I can make sure that I've got that hard part sorted, because I know that I can design a good website. I know that I can code the HTML and CSS for it. But yeah, the other stuff is the unknown.
Yeah.
So that's the focus for this quarter.
Don't they have like plugins for that in WordPress?
Yeah, there's lots of plugins, but there's lots of small just functionality like hacks, I suppose, I'm trying to do with it.
Okay.
To get to be what they want. Yeah. Like I said, probably shouldn't have taken it on, but I've committed to it, so I'm making it happen.
Yeah.
I think I've just realized that I'm just not interested in doing client work, and that maybe that's okay, that I don't have to be a designer.
So why did you take it? Just to stay in touch with development?
Yeah. And also because it's a friend who wanted a website done, and I really respect her and what she's doing, so thought it'd be cool to be a part of that. But yeah, I think that my time would be possibly better spent pushing forward my own projects and, my own goals, that sort of thing.
Are you doing it for free?
Okay.
Sorry, getting into the details.
I am not doing it for free, no.
Yeah.
I'd be really frustrated right now if I'd agreed to do it for free.
Yeah. And friends and money is not simple as well. I've been there as well, especially when things get complicated, but oh well.
Yep. I know that before I went into it, but things have been great so far, so I hope they keep going great, basically.
Yeah. And basically, do you do that? Is it like, when do you have time to work on that? You're basically working.
Well, this is another reason. The only reason I agreed to it was because it was such a long time frame as well. It wasn't like she needs a site this month. 5 months is the amount of time I'll be spending on it. So I can spread out the amount of time it takes to build, design, whatever, over some weekends, some mornings, and that makes it feasible to get it done. Because, that's really the only time I can work on projects. Because I do have a full-time job, so, yeah.
I know that some companies are kind of like frowning upon designers who take freelance projects. Is that cool within ConvertKit, or did you actually
totally
had
cool
to ask a permission, or?
Nah. When I first started I asked Nathan about this because the previous company I'd been at, I did have to ask permission for every single like freelance project I would want to do, and get like a signed thing saying that they don't own the IP for it because the contract said they own everything I do,
Yeah.
And Nathan was like, no. In our company handbook, it says, side projects are, and then it has allowed crossed out, and it says encouraged. So,
amazing.
Yeah. They're fine with it, which is good.
That's cool. So basically, you're now stuck with this project.
Yep. I think I'm going to really enjoy it once I get through the tricky part. You know what I mean? Like once this hard functionality is sorted out, I'm going to find it fun to design because as I work in-house, I'm using the same like design system for everything. Like I can make tweaks to it as much as I want, but for the most part, things look fairly similar. So it's fun to have a new challenge to design something new. That's why I like working on my own website as well, because it's, new colors. Like, what? I can use purple? It's fun.
Let's talk about that. So how do you keep yourself kind of like engaged? How long have you been in ConvertKit?
I've been there 2 and a bit years. Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot.
I think when it comes to July, it'll be the longest job I've ever had. Yeah.
That's incredible. I think I'm always out after a year just because I'm the type of person who gets bored so fast. So how do you keep yourself engaged?
I think that a lot of
Besides
it has been
the
down
retreats, besides the fun retreats.
Besides the retreats and the profit sharing and that sort of thing, I think it's the autonomy that I have at ConvertKit and the fact that I'm encouraged to be coming up with ideas. I'm not just sitting there only creating what people ask of me. I'm coming up with ideas of what to do for our site and new ideas for this type of landing page and given a lot of freedom to actually bring those things to life, which is fun. So I feel like I'm still being really challenged there. And I'm coming up with new ways to challenge myself as well. Like just recently, I've started really getting into the data, into things like user testing and also looking at our big data platform to really investigate how my designs are performing and how little changes I make to them improve the conversion rate and that sort of thing. It's so nerdy, but so much fun for me.
I love that.
I'm just a big nerd. Yeah, it's really cool to see. I did a landing page recently that I really struggled with the design of, but got there in the end, and I think it turned out to have a conversion rate of something like, I can't remember the exact number in the end. It was like 40-something% though.
Wow.
Was the number of people who visited it and then signed up for our challenge,
Wow.
which I was like, amazing. That feels really like a good conversion rate, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what keeps me going, and that's why I'm here, I think.
Nice. Are you doing a lot of kind of like A/B testing and optimization, or mostly it's creating new things, new landing pages, or?
I feel like we go through ebbs and flows of sometimes there's a lot of new projects and new stuff that needs to be created, and sometimes there's more time to go back and improve on old things. But yeah, I guess more than I've done at any other company, I would say, in terms of testing.
I'm intrigued. Like, how do they judge your performance, or kind of like, are you doing a good job, not doing a good job? Do you have kind of like those performance reviews, or how does that work?
Yeah. So previously, we did have performance reviews because we do a thing I mentioned it just for profit sharing.
Yeah.
So profit sharing.
I wanted to ask about that as well because it sounds super intriguing.
It's all included. So let me go into that first.
Yeah.
So profit sharing is because ConvertKit is a profitable company and we are bootstrapped. A percentage of the profits, I can't remember exactly how much off the top of my head, each half year goes to the team and it gets split out amongst the team based on your performance for the past 6 months. So usually it happens at team retreats where we're all sitting in a room together and the directors hand out these little envelopes where there's a card with handwritten messages and there's a little note that says how much your profit sharing amount is for that 6 months, which is always a fun, experience because no one quite knows beforehand exactly how much money is being split out. So yeah, that's always a fun time.
That's cool. So it's not based on your contract, your whatever vesting or something.
Not based on your salary or anything like that. It's purely based on your performance. And we have a scale of 1 to 3.
1 to 3, okay. And who judges that? So, your manager or?
Well, this is where it's changed recently. So it used to be that, your director would decide what your rating was, and then the directors amongst themselves would agree on, who was each. So there was a time to speak up and think, I think this person deserves this instead or whatever. It used to be there wasn't a formula to it. And so recently we're working to more of a formula. Have you heard of OKRs?
Yes,
Objectives
of course.
And key results.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we've started using them, and how it works.
Can you share for people? For people who have no clue what that is. Yeah, share a little.
So
bit.
it's a system of active goal setting, I suppose, and measuring your goals. So the objective is kind of like a top level thing you want to achieve, and then the key results are how you are going to achieve it. So what are the things that you need to do in order to achieve this objective? They're your key results. So we've started setting goals and planning projects and things using this. And if we achieve 100% of our OKRs, then we get graded as a 3. And if we achieve 80%, then we're a 2. And any less than that is a 1. And it's kind of like, this is a problem. Yeah.
But who
I
sets
think-
the OKRs? Like, what if the objectives are too high and they're unachievable?
So it's definitely been a process. We've only been doing this for, I think this is the third quarter we've really been doing it. We set them with our director, if that makes sense.
So each person in the company sets OKRs for themselves. Okay. And
Based on, so there's OKRs set for the team and for the company as a whole as well. So it kind of flows down, and you want yours that you set to be like, how do you think you can help us reach our team goals? And the team goals are how do you think we can meet the company goals? Yeah. So yeah, that's what it's been like. But I think we're going to change it. Well, the goal setting has been, the OKRs have been, but I don't think the measuring performance based on them has been. So we're going to look to change that, which is something I love about ConvertKit, is the way that the management team will respond to feedback, and we'll like try something, and if it doesn't work, be totally open to changing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know what the new formula is going to be, but I think it's going to bring in more of like that subjective and the, objective side of it. Just because, like, I don't know, if something comes up and that was really important to work on, so you didn't get your OKRs done, then you're going to get a bad mark, and it doesn't seem fair because you're still working hard, or I don't know. Yeah. Or maybe if you achieve like over and above this quarter, but then the next quarter you don't do so well, how do they even out together and measure all that? So yeah, it's the thing we're like making up as we go along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I think that I haven't heard about many companies that do that. So it's really cool to work in a company.
Do profit
like
sharing or do OKRs, do you mean?
Profit sharing in general, but that type of compensation that is based on performance. Actually, I have a friend that works in Facebook, and I know that they get kind of like bonuses based on performance as well. But yeah.
Yeah, previously places I've been at, bonuses have been based on like a percentage of your salary usually. So it's
I like basically it's fixed. Like they know how much money they're going to make if they'll perform well, for example.
Exactly. Whereas we have no idea really, because it depends on how well the company as a whole performs.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. But yeah, I like it because it means that if your job isn't one that is like commands such a higher salary in the tech industry, but you can still earn just as much of the profit sharing bonus as someone in, one of those higher paid roles.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I wonder, well, that's a little bit more of a business question, but I wonder how much you said that like the amount of profits to be shared, they're kind of like fixed, because obviously some of the profits go into investments in the company, into growing it, into new.
Yeah, it's a percentage of the profits each 6 months that gets shared out, but I can't remember exactly how much it is, what that percentage is. Yeah.
Cool. And do you have, so who's your kind of like director? Are you in like marketing director, CMO? Like what's the...
So my manager is Derek, who's our director of marketing, which is really interesting for me to not have a designer as my manager. Actually, the previous role I was in before this, it was the marketing manager as well, who was my manager. So I guess I'm kind of used to it by now. But yeah, it is interesting to not be like under a creative director or a design lead or something.
Do you
like
lack that feedback from designers? Well,
sometimes I think I do. Especially lately, I've felt really challenged at this first half of this year, just the projects that I was taking on. I know I'm getting much like better and better as a designer, but that means I'm hitting more and more challenges and like, making things harder for myself sometimes too. So that is something that I have found myself lacking and like wishing I could get more of. But we do have design team meetings, which is me, Dylan, who's our product designer, and Nathan, who is like has a design background as well. So that's my chance to like show work and get critique, get feedback, which is really, really helpful. Yeah. But if there's a few weeks where, I don't know, we haven't been able to have those for any reason, then I really do find myself struggling. But luckily, ConvertKit, we have a policy of working in public. So it doesn't matter if I share unfinished work, basically. So we've got a community for our podcast, Design Life. And I've shared work in there and just been like, hey, designers, here's the context.
In what like format? Is it just like a Slack group or something like that?
Yeah, it's a Slack group. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
yeah, so I find other ways to get that feedback, basically, is my answer to your question.
Yeah. I feel that, like, and I know that I've had this discussion with an agency owner recently that told me that a lot of people who work in the tech industry, they're like the designers work very solitarily, and they're not part of, like, he was claiming basically that creatives were meant to live together or sit together, and that you're supposed to work in a creative environment, and that when you're working in tech, you're basically like working in solitary, and like you're detached from other creative people, which I think is an interesting argument, even though I'm also used to working in tech for many years. But I also feel that way now that I'm working specifically alone in this office and doing like designs and not getting any feedback on them. And I think it's a good use of using your community to get some feedback like that. Maybe I should open up.
Yeah.
I'm just like really not against, but it like notifications are the devil as far as I'm concerned. That's why I really try to stay away from Slack. But like the only Slack I have is for Epicurrence, which I only open when I go to that event. But maybe it's a good idea to open up like in the Webflow in my course, like there's a Facebook group. They've been asking for Slack, but I'm just like, no, I'm not doing a Slack thing, just because I don't want to be there. But maybe it's like,
you can always turn all your notifications off for Slack.
But
I have that set for my Slack.
I'll know that it's another place that I have to check. And I have to respond, and I have to be available.
Yeah.
But maybe I should stop caring, first of all, only about me and give the people what they want. But also maybe it can be useful for me just in terms of getting design feedback and socializing more with designers.
Yeah, it acts as a good water cooler, people drop interesting links in. And
do you have like a local community in London that you, like designer friends that you hang out with, or?
Not much, to be honest. I go to design meetups every now and then, but I don't know. This is going to sound really cynical, but like because there's the big tech companies here, and because I don't have like head of this or like senior designer or like design lead at whatever in my title, technically, I could just make that up if I wanted. I'm the lead marketing designer at ConvertKit, done, But I don't know. I feel like it's hard to meet people who are going to respect you, if that makes sense.
Why do you feel that way?
I don't know. Maybe it's just the meetups that I'm going to or the kind of people that they attract, but I'm not sure.
What, you think there's going to be like people from big famous companies with titles and they're all going to be fancy, and you are just like, hey, I'm from this little bootstrap little company with no titles because like the CEO is my manager?
Yep, this is the thing, is that I've actually experienced this. Really? Is that you go to things and like you meet someone who's like, oh, I'm doing this at Facebook, and they're literally not interested in what you have to say because they haven't heard of your company. Like I've just met a lot of people like that, which sucks. Like, and that's why I love things like Epicurrence, because there are people from big fancy companies there, but they all have a great attitude and they all want to talk to you and they're all very friendly. So yeah, I guess that's where I get my fix of design community, is things like
it's
Epicurrence.
Funny, but also talking about the latest Epicurrence. So Jeff Tien was there on the last one, and I just saw on Instagram that he's here in Tel Aviv. So I wrote him a message. I was like, hey dude, if you want to grab lunch or dinner, let's hang out. And he was like, hey, I'm throwing an event for designers this Wednesday when I'm in town. Like, he's in Facebook, so basically Facebook gives him a budget, he closes a place, and he invites a bunch of people and everybody comes and hangs out. So he was like, let me send you an invite to this event. And I got an email from like the Facebook hiring whatever that I have to RSVP and write all my details, and then I had to write what company I work in, and then what's my title in that company. Now, I always struggle with this, specifically at this point. I'm like, what's my company? All right. So I write Flux at this point.
Nice.
And what's my title? I write CEO, just because, what should I write?
You are.
Designer? Like, what should I write? But I know I just filled this form like an hour ago. But while I did this, I kind of knew, like I felt that feeling that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. Like, there's going to be all these people like Facebook or other companies with all their titles there, and I'm going to come there with Flux. What the hell is that? Like, what companies do you work in? Or you're freelancing and you have a YouTube channel. We don't know who you are.
Right.
So that's going to be, I don't know if awkward, but yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about.
But because Jeff's organizing it, he's great. He's so friendly and so kind. So
yeah, and I know,
I feel like you're gonna be in good hands.
I know the people there as well. You know, I have friends working in Facebook, and yeah, it's a small community, but still, I know like that feeling of everybody has that fancy name tag, and you have that like small, like
I also just think in general, I find it difficult in life to find like my people, you know what I mean? Like find people who you're going to relate to, who you're going to enjoy hanging out with, having a good conversation with. It's harder than you think to find people that you really want to connect with in that way. So yeah, I guess I haven't really found many people like that who are designers in London. Mm-hmm. Mostly the people who I know who are designers and I have that connection with, they're all over the world. Like you're in Tel Aviv. You know, we're not going to design meetups together in London.
Yeah, I do want to come. You know, it's so funny. You know, my brother lives in London for the past 2 years. I didn't get to come to his house even once. So I'm looking for an excuse to come to London.
Come to London.
Yeah, I will. I'll have to organize something to make it.
We could do like a joint meetup or like, you know, something. Hey, I can book out the YouTube space for events. We could do like a joint.
For sure. Let's do something. It just needs to be official so I can get an excuse. Not excuse, but, you know, my wife, who is also the chief financial officer for my company, has to sign the permit for me to leave the country and leave her with 2 kids. So... It needs to be official. It needs to be for a business purpose and not just look all fun.
Yeah.
Has to look legit.
Yeah, legit business trip.
Yeah, sure. Actually, it's fun. I'm going to Poland in June to speak at 2 different events. So that's going to be fun. I haven't been doing much like public speaking like lately, but I really want to go into that, and so I'm happy about this conversation. Do you have anything coming up, like in terms of speaking engagements and stuff like that?
I do actually. I've got in just a couple of weeks, I'm speaking in Chicago at How Design Live.
Oh,
you know the website How Design?
Yeah, it's the magazine. Like How Design is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to be talking about increasing your worth as an in-house designer there. So basically sharing tips for people to not just be a production person who's photoshopping images, laying out brochures, like someone who can add value to the company and increase your worth as a designer. And then in June, I'm speaking at the ConvertKit conference, Craft and Commerce. It's a conference for creators. So anyone who like runs an online business, you know, has a YouTube channel, a blog, online courses, whatever. And I'm going to be talking about design for creators, basically just trying to increase their confidence and in their skills to be making design assets for what they're doing. Yeah.
Cool. Where is that going to be? Boise or?
That one is in, Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
You know, happening city hub.
Nice. Chicago is also cool. I've never been to Chicago. Have you been there before?
I've been there for like 3 hours. I had a layover of a flight and it was long enough that I could get into the city and back. So I like went and saw the Bean thing and, you know, ate some deep dish pizza and then went back to the airport.
Cool. How did you get to, or did they get to you? Like, how did you make this happen with the How conference?
They reached out to me, which was cool. I think they were looking for someone to make a talk about a day in the life of an in-house designer. So I think they'd seen some of my a day in the life of a designer vlogs, and that's how they got in touch with me. So yeah.
By the way, I see that's really working strong right now on YouTube. Like a day in the life type of thing. Yeah. I think I'm going to do that as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be making one for sure. I think that, it's getting all the views lately. And it is useful. Yeah. Like, I always click on them. I always want to see what a day in the life of another designer's life is like.
I just discovered a new designer on YouTube called Alexa, I think. Do you know her?
Yes.
She's a designer in San Francisco.
As well, a day in the life of a UX designer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, okay, so now I'm knowing, I know it's, you know, honestly, it's funny that we talk about this, but I kind of had like years ago this feeling that I want to like create like documentaries about days in the life of designers, not about me, but in general, just like interesting designers. I never got into doing this, but now I'm actually thinking about kind of like transitioning a little bit my YouTube channel from focusing just on me speaking to showing other people, or maybe kind of like, have you seen what Dan Petty's doing? Like creating those documentaries? Yeah. I feel like specifically because I'm doing less and less design now that I'm, doing my online course, I think maybe my YouTube channel is going to go in that direction. I don't know. We'll see.
I like that idea because I think there's a lot of people, a lot of designers who have interesting processes and lead interesting lives, but they don't have a channel of their own and they're not interested in making their own YouTube channel.
Exactly.
But you could share their stories on yours, which is cool.
Yeah. I think that's going to happen. All right, Charli, it's been a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to chat. I honestly forgot we were recording at some point.
Is there anything that you want people to, obviously I'll put the link to your YouTube channel and your podcast, but anything else that you want to mention people when they're looking around you on the internet?
Maybe just my website, charliemarie.com.
Yeah,
got
check
all the
out
things on it.
Because it's got now an e-commerce site built with Webflow, and you can order Charli's print there, and she'll
just don't buy 100 at a time, please.
She'll manually. You can't. By the way, you can because it's a text field, and you can click whatever number that you want.
I know.
And she'll package them for you in a separate cases. Is it like in a tube type of thing?
Depends on what size print you order. The smaller ones come in like an envelope and the bigger ones are in a tube.
All right. So definitely check that out.
And the blog section of that site too. I'm really trying to write more posts about like behind the scenes of my business and things like that. Like last year I did an income report for the end of the financial year for my business. And so I'm looking for, that's coming up in May, the next one. So I'm looking forward to writing that and like seeing where my income streams have changed over the year. Should be fun.
Amazing. I actually didn't know that you're doing that, so I'll go and check that out myself as well.
Cool. I'll send you a link.
Amazing, Charli. All right. Awesome conversation. Talk to you soon.
Bye, Ryan.
Bye-bye.